Hey everybody, this is Your Mind Translated Podcast. This is your host, Jack, so let's get to it. Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to talk about the illusion of sound. I'm your host, Jack, and I'm excited to dive into something truly fascinating. Sound. And more specifically, how we interpret it. Sounds surround us every day, shaping how we experience the world. But here's the thing. What if I told you that you can't always trust what you hear? Think about it. How many times have you heard something and been completely wrong about what you thought it was? Was it the wind howling or someone whispering? Was that a knock on the door or just the house settling? Our brains do something really strange with sound, and that's what we're here to explore today. Let's break it down in a way that's easy to understand, but also just as philosophical. So, stick with me for the next 10 minutes as we unravel why you shouldn't always believe your ears. Let's start with the question, what is sound, really? Well, technically speaking, sound is just vibrations in the air. These vibrations travel through space and reach your ears, which translate them into electrical signals that your brain then interprets as sound. Pretty simple, right? Well, not exactly. What's fascinating is how much of this process depends on your brain's own interpretation. The brain is not a passive receiver of sound. It's constantly working to fill in the gaps of what it thinks it hears. Imagine you're listening to a conversation at a noisy party. You might not hear every single word, but your brain is really good at guessing and filling in the blanks. It's like an over-enthusiastic puzzle solver, and sometimes it gets things wrong. The sound comes in, but the brain creates meaning, and in that meaning, there can be a lot of room for error. This leads us to one of the biggest questions of today's episode. If sound is just an interpretation of the brain, can we really trust what we hear? I am going to show you and prove you right now how much your ears can trick you. I am going to play a famous chant recorded, I believe, at a football match or soccer match, whatever you call it these days. You're going to hear the recording 4 times in which the whole stadium is screaming, "That is embarrassing." I'm going to play it for you 4 times and then I'll be back with you. Okay, if you are quote-unquote sane person as me, you probably heard "that is embarrassing." Now, I'm going to play you the same recording, but this time you will hear Bart Simpson bouncing. Did you hear Bart Simpson bouncing, or did you hear "that is embarrassing"? All right, now I'm going to tell you that both are wrong. Because what the audio recording says is bats eating pirate shit. Don't believe me? Let me play it again. All right, I'm probably driving you crazy right now, or not, but what if I told you that the audio recording is actually saying the 3 things at the same time? It's saying "that is embarrassing," Bart Simpson bouncing, and bats eating pirate shit. Let's hear it one more time. Okay, no more games for now. What the actual recording says is that is embarrassing. It's chant from a UK stadium. I took inspiration from the TV series The Irrational, in which the psychologist master, forgot what he is, he plays this to his students to test them on their perception of sound and expectations. And what this test shows is that people will hear or believe that they hear whatever they think they're hearing based on the expectations that they have on whatever they are listening to. And if you want, you can go back later and replay this episode and replay that recording that I just played for you guys and girls out there. And the more you listen to it, the more you will hear different things. Some people hear rats eating viruses. Some people hear 566 56. It's crazy how you will understand that the sounds that are getting to you is one thing, but the different interpretations that your mind is trying to make of it is what makes it fascinating, because you then realize that your mind, as I said previously, is just trying to fill in the gaps. It doesn't quite understand what it's hearing, but it's trying to make the best of it. And if I gave you a cue, if I give you a word or a sentence before you have the time to hear the recording, then your mind has already an expectation on what it thinks the recording will say. So what that means is that our minds don't see or hear reality. It just tries to make sense of the context. You see, we don't hear sound in isolation. Our past experiences, our mood, even our biases can shape what we think we're hearing. There is an old saying that goes like this: we hear what we want to hear. It's true in more ways than you might think. Take, for example, those viral Yanni versus Laurel debates. For those of you who are not aware of this famous clip, it's an audio recording, you can find it on YouTube, of a person saying, well, the audio is saying, for some people, Yanni, and for others, Laurel. So it's crazy how some people swear they heard Yanni, while others were absolutely convinced it was Laurel. The sound wave was the same, but what people expected to hear made all the difference. Psychologists have a term for this. It's called perceptual set. In short, your brain primes itself to hear certain things based on what it expects. Let's say, for example, you're walking alone in the dark. Your brain might be on high alert for danger. So a rustling in the bushes could sound like something far more dangerous than it really is. Your expectations shape your reality, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. It makes you wonder, how much of our daily experience is influenced by what we think is happening rather than what's really going on? If sound can be misinterpreted so easily, what does that mean for how we navigate the world? On a philosophical level, it challenges the idea of objective reality. If we're constantly misinterpreting the sounds around us, then how do we know what's real? The philosopher Immanuel Kant once said, "We don't experience the world as it is, but as it appears to us through our senses." Our senses, sight, touch, sound, are our filters, and they are imperfect. They give us a version of reality, not reality itself. Sound is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a humbling thought. Every time we hear something, we're hearing it through the lens of our brain's expectations. its past experiences, and its biases. In a way, we are all living in a world shaped by our own minds, a world where what's real and what we perceive can sometimes be two very different things. So, what can we take away from all this? Well, for one, it's a reminder to be humble about our perceptions. Remember, just because you hear something doesn't mean it's true. This applies not just to sounds, but to all aspects of life. We should always question our first impressions, remain curious, and be open to the idea that what we perceive might not be the whole story. But on the flip side, there is something beautiful about this too. Our brains are endlessly creative. The way we hear things, the way we interpret sounds is part of what makes us human. It's a reminder that the world we experience is deeply personal, shaped by who we are and how we think. So the next time you hear a strange sound or interpret something in a particular way, take a moment to pause and consider this. Is it really what you think it is, or is your brain just playing a clever trick on you? And that makes me wonder because many times I have thought about the fact that I might be different for different people. I don't think everybody looks at me the same way. I don't even think people can hear and interpret and understand everybody's voice the same way. So we might sound different to different people as well as we might look different to different people. The way some people are more into music like I am, maybe there is something in the way of how my mind receives those wave sounds from music, and maybe that's why I interpret music in a certain more passionate way than other people who are more artistic into drawing or dancing or maybe doing another craft. So it's so fascinating that each one of us has this automatic translator in our minds, and it's so unorthodox on how it translates and perceives things and interpret things that's what makes us this translating machine that we are, that our minds are. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you with this quote. It is not our fault for being raised in these conditions and mind traps, but it is our solemn duty to escape them. Thank you all, everybody, for letting me be in your ears once again. You can see the links, as usual, to my Patreon and the website Buy Me a Coffee, where you can donate and support the podcast, which is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Dia, my good friend Dia from Syria. He supported the podcast through Buy Me a Coffee, the link below. So thank you, Dia. Shukran ya Albi. Tune in for the next one. Much love, everybody. Stay safe, stay aware, and Khadafis.